she comes. Hey, it's the Iowa Prairie Girl here today, and Prairie Dog. We've left the prairie today, and we are in the Greenbelt between Rock Falls, Iowa and North Springs, Iowa. Now, if you are in the North Iowa area, in the Mason City area, and you have never walked the Greenbelt along the Shell Rock River, you are missing one of the best kept secrets here in the Mason City area. It is the third week in September. It's kind of getting cooler out. The leaves are about to start to change, and if you want to see a neat place in the North Iowa, Mason City area, this is the place to check out. Like I said, a lot of people don't even realize that it is such a cool place here. So what are we doing in the woods today and not out in the prairie? We're going to talk about asters today. Now, asters grow everywhere. You'll find them in the prairie. As I drove here today along the gravel roads, there were asters growing in the ditches everywhere. But we're looking for my favorite aster, and my favorite aster is the Common Blue Wood Aster, also known as the the Heartleaf Aster. And so we're going to find that today, I hope, out here in the Greenbelt along the, what river is it? The Shell Rock River. I always get the Winnebago and Shell Rock mixed up. We are along the Shell Rock River. So also a really neat place. We're gonna hike up along the bluffs, looking over the Shell Rock River, in hopes to find this aster that I'm looking for. So just kind of give you a look at where I'm at here. We have a creek back here. Just an absolutely gorgeous place in the woods to go for a hike. So a little bit about asters. There are 250, at least, 250 different types of asters in North America, Asia, and Europe. So lots of asters. They're hard to distinguish between them. So another hard flower to look at is one of those composites that I've talked about in my other videos. And if you want to learn more about composites, I talked about that in my Maximilian sunflower video, and also in my stiff goldenrod video. So you can check those out to learn more about composites. So aster means star, or another name for an aster is the word starwort, because they look like a star. Wort is an Old English word that comes from the meaning of plant, or also means an herb that you can use for medicinal purposes. So, starwort. So why is it called a star flower? That comes from a Greek legend that there was a goddess named Astaria, I think that's how you say her name, who was feeling bad that there weren't enough stars in the sky. So she was crying, and as her tears fell and hit the ground, they turned into flowers, and those are the asters. So that's why they're called star flowers. Like I mentioned, or if I did mention, it is September. It's starting to turn cooler out, and the Indians had a term for asters as well, and those are the flowers that bring the frost. So we're looking at the end of our 2019 blooming season, and asters are one of the last flowers to bloom in the summer or in the fall. So that's what we're looking for today. So stick with me as we hike. Gonna go over here. Got to cross the bridge here. We're gonna cross this little creek that flows into the Shell Rock River. Just a beautiful spot. What else can I tell you about asters while we're walking here? Some folklore. You know I love folklore. You can use asters to treat if you are bitten by a mad dog. It says you can make a concoction from an aster. Look at that behind me. Isn't that gorgeous? You can take an aster and you can treat yourself from a mad dog. Also, if you burn asters, the ashes or the smell from those ashes are going to ward off evil spirits and serpents. Just in case you need to know that. All right, so I'm going to head up the hill here and look for asters, and as soon as I find one, we'll get down and look at the aster more close up. So please stay tuned. Oh my goodness, I can't believe how lucky I am today. walking the Greenbelt, and I am in my most favorite spot at the Greenbelt. It's a ravine that's just gorgeous, and it goes down into the, there's Prairie Dog, she doesn't like the fact that we stopped. So this ravine goes down into the Shell Rock River, and it is my favorite place. I normally stop here when I'm out for a hike, and this is where I stop and take a little break and enjoy the view. And I was hoping, I didn't know for sure if I would find the wood aster here in this ravine, but I knew that it was the right habitat. And look at how fortunate am I. I am in the ravine, so I'm stepped down, and this is growing out of the rocks here, and it's perfect for this video here. So habitat for the common wood aster is in the woods, usually along the edge of the forest where there's some dappled sunlight, or along the trails where you again will have a little bit of sunlight coming in, or where there's been a disturbance in the woods, so that the plant can grow there. And then also in rocky areas, and this is exactly where I'm at. I'm in a rocky area along the Shell Rock. There's a lot of shell rocks here, and so this is a perfect place to find this flower. So heart-leafed aster as well. So let's start with the leaf. So as you can see, the bottom leaves are what we call heart-shaped, or that term is cordate. Let me get that here for you. There you go. There's the term we're looking at. Cordate, that means heart-shaped. And so these heart-shaped leaves are on the bottom part of the plant. They get up to be about 5 inches long, and they're coarsely serrated. So, or that means tooth. So as you can see, that means they kind of look like the edge of a steak knife, where they're toothed like that. And so that's how you're going to identify these asters. If you're out in the woods, you're going to look for the aster that has that cordate or heart-shaped leaf at the bottom. And as the leaves go up, you can see that they get smaller and they get less cordate. So as they proceed up the stem, they're going to get smaller, and then they become, the term that we're looking for here is ovate, and that means that they become egg-shaped or oval with a tapering point. And so you can see here, as the leaves go up the stem, they become less heart-shaped, they become more egg-shaped, and they become smaller. So that's the word ovate, means that they're egg-shaped or oval with a tapering end. Now the stem of the wood aster is smooth. It's kind of a stout leafy plant. Now depending on where you find it, it'll depend on the heights. It's between 1 to 3 feet tall. So it all just depends on the type of habitat that it's growing in. I did pass some plants. There's a chickmunk up there that's in my eyesight, distracting me. So I did pass some plants that were real short. They were probably just 8 to 12 inches tall. They were in a little bit denser part. So it just depends on where the plant is, how much sunlight they're getting, depends on how tall that they get. The plant normally is pretty stout and erect until it gets up to the top, where then it starts to branch off onto these flowers. So the next term that we want to look at is panicil. So panicil is a branch where they have the daisy-like flowers coming off. So panicil, let me get my card here. Panicil is a different type. There's different types of panicils. All depends on the type of flower you're looking at. But that's where a panicil's definition is a loose branching cluster of flowers. So a loose branching cluster of flowers is a panicil. And the one thing that panicils have in common is that the flowers all start blooming at the bottom of the panicil and then move their way up. So in this one, we have the upper stems terminate at the panicil, and they have these cluster of daisy-like flowers. The one thing about the wood aster is that on the panicil, you have it's larger at the bottom of the cluster than it is at the top. And that's one thing to look for. So these flowers bloom in late summer, and they usually have a blooming period of about 1 to 2 months. Now the flowers that I've cut here, they seem to be like they're in the end of their blooming season. They're not as as pretty as what I would find at the beginning of their blooming season. And most of the flowers that you're going to see in my video towards the end are going to be pictures that I took at McIntosh State Park last fall. I caught them right in their rare form where they were just beautiful. So those flowers are going to be those pictures are going to be from McIntosh State Park. So I've seen woodflower at McIntosh. I've also found woodflower at Lime Creek Nature Center as well. So another word we want to focus here on is petiole, and I failed to use this word a lot in my earlier videos. I often talk about the stalk, and the stalk is also petiole. So in the woodflower, the wood aster, the petiole is important to help you identify this from other asters that you might find in the woods. And the petiole on the wood aster is half, if not more than half, longer, as long as the blade that it's supporting. So you want to look for a long, narrow petiole on the wood aster. Now, another word that I've mentioned already, and that is composite. And so asters are in that composite group of flowers. A composite are flowers that are made up of a central core of many tiny flowers surrounded by long ray petals. So on the, hi, puppy dog's right here, crying because she wants to go. So on the wood aster here, they are made up of a lot of ray flowers surrounding that core. Each flower is about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and the rays are anywhere between a light blue to a lavender, a violet color to, you might find some that are a real rich blue color. And there's going to be between 7 to 15 different rays surrounding that core. So those are the ray flowers. Then in the middle, you have the corolla. I think that sounds just like the car. Corolla. These are all the petals together. That's a definition of a corolla. And so you have the center disc here that has also between 7 to 15 little tiny flowers in there that make up the center disc. And so the center disc will start out early in the bloom. It will be a cream color to a pale yellow. And then as the plant matures, it turns into a purple to a reddish purple color. And most of these flowers here in front of me are that reddish purple color. So we know that this plant has been blooming a little while and it's almost spent. Now the other thing that we really need to look at are the brackets, and I know I've mentioned brackets before. Brackets are the leaves that hold the flower in the very back part of it. I describe it as like a bracket that holds up a shelf. And the brackets on the wood flower are a light green, except you want to look really closely. If you look real close, you should be able to see a dark green triangle shape on each of those on the brackets. And so that'll help you identify this as a wood aster. Prairie dog's ready to get moving, so we're going to go down the trail and see if we can find more wood asters. Well, it's just one of those days. It started to rain on us now. Prairie dog and I, we found a few more wood asters along the trail. Most of them were spent. I did fail to mention that sometimes a wood aster can be so pale blue colored that they almost look white, and we did see a few of those, but they weren't in very good shape, so I didn't stop and take a picture of them. So a couple more legends about asters before we hit the end of the trail here. The Cherokee Indians have a legend about asters, and it goes that there were these two young Indian girls that were hiding because there was a tribal war going on, and they found a medicine woman who hid them, and this medicine woman put them in a meadow and had them lay down there for the night and sleep. These girls were dressed in doe-skin dresses, and one of them had a fringe that was blue colored, and one of them had a fringe that was yellow colored. And the medicine woman could see into these girls' future, and she could see that the enemy was going to capture them. So she chose to hide them And she made a magic brew, and she sprinkled this magic brew on the girls and then covered them with leaves. And in the next morning, the girls were gone, and in their place were asters and goldenrod. And so that's the legend, because you often see asters and goldenrod together at the end of the summer, blooming out in the prairie together. So that's a Cherokee legend about asters. Another name for asters is Michaelmas daisy. And that is named after St. Michael's, the archangel, who the celebration feast for him is September 29th. And so that is also a time when asters are blooming. St. Michael is known for a protector against evil and darkness. And so the aster is one of the last asters in the summer to bloom. And so that's kind of our warding off the inevitable winter is the aster, and so that's why it's called Michaelmas daisy. So we've come to the end of our road here. We're back to where we started. Thank you for staying this far into my video. If you did, this is my 23rd Iowa Prairie Girl video. I'm going to turn around here so you can see the creek behind me, or maybe you can't see it back there. Yeah, as of to date, of this morning, I have 103 YouTube subscribers. So thank you all for subscribing to my videos. Over 1,000 minutes viewed. So maybe it's appropriate to end this season on asters, as asters are kind of the end of the season kind of flower. Not quite sure if I'll do a video next week or not. It's kind of hard to find a flower right at this moment. Hope we got someone out here on the crossing the creek here. We'll take a video of them crossing the creek. Come here, Prairie. Here we go. So you can see how fun the Greenbelt is as a place to come to visit. So, feel kind of funny here. I'm in the woods, but I'm going to sign off here. This is Iowa Prairie Girl signing off in the woods. We got Prairie Dog in the creek again. Again, just thank you for being a faithful subscriber. Please share my videos. It is the end of the blooming season, but that doesn't mean we can't get out and enjoy some hikes and see other wonderful things in nature. So I encourage you to get out there, and I encourage you to see the wonderful. This is the Iowa Prairie Girl.